Don't look now, but Barcelona B have fought their way up to a playoff spot in the Segunda Division B, or the third division. There is still plenty of season to go, but the squad looks better than they looked all of last season. It's probably helpful that many of the core members of the squad are a year older, but they should be looking to get some Copa del Rey minutes this year, and maybe a chance with the first team next year. Here's where this gets complicated. Carlos Pérez and Ansu Fati are expected to return to the B team at some point, but maybe not. We've spoken enough about Riqui Puig already, and you can check out last week's video on where I think he'll end up for more on that. Iñaki Peña is a third-choice goalkeeper for the first team, and he's with Barcelona B to get him playing time, so I think it's pretty obvious where he'll be as long as Marc-Andre ter Stegen is in net and Peña is at the club. Timing is essential for young goalkeepers, and hopefully Peña gets his chance eventually. Alright, with those four accounted for, let's talk some players that could get a few first-team looks this season, especially if a few players leave during the winter window. The first group is the three that have already made first-team debuts: Alex Collado, Abel Ruiz, and Ronald Araujo. Collado made his debut last year, starting against Celta de Vigo on the left wing in May. He's a regular starter for Barcelona B, playing usually on the right wing and occasionally in center mid. 2 goals, 1 a golazo, and 2 assists is his haul this season. Whether it's with Barcelona's first team or somewhere else, I have to wonder where the 20-year-old is at his best, on the wing or in the middle. His name recognition gets overshadowed by Puig, but Collado has consistently defied the expectations set before him in his career. And what about Abel Ruiz? Culés have known about him for years now, but he's still just 19. He got his La Liga debut last season in a 21-minute cameo against Getafe in a 2-0 win. Like Collado, Ruiz plays multiple positions for Francisco Pimienta, getting 6 starts as a center forward and 3 starts at left wing this season. His 3 goals and 2 assists so far are spread out among those 2 spots. Even though he's played on the left wing plenty in the last few seasons, the teenager is going to be a center forward at the top level. We talked about timing with Peña, and the same should be said for Ruiz. Ruiz isn't ready yet, but will he be when it's time for Luis Suarez to step aside? Barca can still bring in somebody else, but having Ruiz as an option wouldn't be the worst thing. Ronald Araujo got that red card off the bench against Sevilla in his La Liga debut after just 14 minutes, so I don't think most Culés who just watched the first team got to see enough of him. When he came from Atletico Boston River last summer, it was expected that it might take the center back some time to learn the Barca way. He had his ups and downs last season, but this year there hasn't been a question who Barcelona B's starting center backs are. It's left-footed Jorge Cuenca on the left and Araujo on the right, with Chumi and Oscar Mingueza filling in or being forced to the fullback spots. Instead of knocking Chumi for falling down the pecking order, it's more credit to the upside of the 20-year-old Uruguayan. The only problem is the guy standing in front of him in the first team. If Jean-Claude Todibo can't get time, I doubt we'll see much of Araujo this year. Okay, so who else could we see this season from the B team? Ferran Sassanidis is the captain and has worn the armband in his 4 starts this year, but every other game it's been Manchu. The 20-year-old has started all 10 games this season, scoring the decisive goal against Sabadell and 2 others this season. The Mallorcan occasionally trains with the first team, but there is an abundance of midfielders and he shouldn't expect to get a shot other than a bench appearance in the Copa. Let's end this list with the youngest of the bunch, Jandro Orellana. The 19-year-old, he's 8 months younger than Ruiz, is featuring for Barcelona B while still playing in the UEFA Youth League. The defensive midfielder has 3 starts for the B team and 6 total appearances. He was superb against Sabadell, and even though Sassanidis has more experience, Orellana has the higher ceiling. On paper, Sergio Busquets, technically Frankie de Jong, even Rakitic, Arturo Vidal, and Sergio Roberto, not to mention Oro Busquets out on loan, are all ahead of him on the defensive midfielder depth chart. But Orellana is an exciting prospect. The Masia talents that regularly play with older players are the ones that get extra attention, and Orellana is now just 1 step from playing with the oldest boys. I do want to give some honorable mentions here. We won't see them anywhere near the first team this season, but Iash Mariba needs to be mentioned. The story involving him and Victor Valdez a few weeks ago was negative for all parties, but the talented midfielder has already made his Barca B debut this season, and there could be more appearances at that level for him this year. Alongside new recruit from West Brom, Louis Barry, the 2 16-year-olds are playing up in age level with Juvenil A. With Fati debuting this year at 16, the current regime at Barca, and that's not just Ernesto Valverde, seem to not have age restrictions on playing time with the first team. The last 2 I want to mention are Juvenil B players and also 16-year-olds. Left-back Alejandro Balde is a starter in the UEFA Youth League, and he made the jump last year to the Juvenil Bs in the spring, after impressing for Cadet A. The reason I need to mention him is that with Juan Miranda on loan at Schalke, Balde is the left-back in La Masia with the highest upside. Chus Alba is another midfielder, making the jump from Cadet A to Juvenil B this season. Last year was his first year in La Masia, having come over from Espanyol last summer and playing for Dam the year before. I want to mention Alba because he's been exceptional to start the year, and while he's still a few years away, he's been so impressive to start this 2019 campaign that I want to give a reminder that the pipeline doesn't stop with terrific midfielders. So there you have it, plenty of names to keep an eye on this season, and don't be surprised if you see a bunch of these talents in the Copa del Rey. I do expect Vidal, Rakitic, and other bench regulars to get to start in the Cup, so maybe we'll see less than we think, but we'll see. If you like this video and want more like it, help us out by liking and subscribing. Most importantly, and until next time, Forza Barça!